Right guys, maths, okay, maths from home. This is all new and very exciting for me. So this half term we have been doing subtraction, okay, column subtraction, and we've been getting really good at it. Now we've come up with some rules to help us with our column subtraction that we must not forget because they're really important even though we're now doing this at home, okay. So the first rule, always start with the ones on the right. Always start with the ones on the right. Remember that one, most important rule. The second rule, if you have a question like this in your workbooks, which will say something like, subtract 161 from 353, you would always put the second number in the first box. Okay, we talked about this a lot. We need to make sure that we're putting the second number in the first box because then we get the question in the right order. If we put it in the wrong order, it means we get the wrong answer, okay? Second number, first box, and then the first number in the second box. I know it's a little bit confusing, but if we remember the pattern, it will help us. And it's because you are subtracting this from this. You are taking this away from this. Okay, so remember that pattern and it will help you. The new rule that we came up with just last week was if the number on the bottom is bigger, always borrow from the top. Okay, and we'll come back to this rule in a minute because this one's really important for our renaming, which we talked about last week. Okay, so I'll put that one down for a second and we'll come back to it. If at any point during this video you need to pause it, rewind, have a look, feel free, whatever helps you, okay? So, for questions like this that we've been doing, we love these questions because they're nice and simple. So we start with the ones on the right, okay? So if I'm doing this question, I look at this, in my ones column, I've got 6, take away 5. 6 take away 5, 1, okay? In my tens column, I've got 5, take away 2, 3. And in my hundreds column, I've got 3 hundreds, take away 100, which leaves me with 2, okay? And that would give me my answer. Super fun, super easy, we love those ones, okay? But we were so good at those questions that we decided to step it up a level, okay? And we started answering questions that you had to do some renaming with, okay? So let's have a look at one of those questions that we did renaming with. Okay, so coming back to this rule here, if the number on the bottom is bigger, always borrow from the top. So we need to do some borrowing for this question because we can see that the number on the bottom, 5, is bigger than 2. Okay, and because 5 is bigger than 2, we need to borrow. Now we don't need to borrow from the bottom, we need to borrow from the top. Okay, so we're going to borrow from the top. We're going to borrow from this number here, our 5 in the tens column. Okay, and we know that we need to do this because if we had 2 pens, if we had 2 pens, just like here, 2 pens, we couldn't take 5 away from 2 because there's not enough pens for us to take away. So we've only got 2 pens, which means we need to borrow in order to take the 5 away because we can't take 5 away from 2. We can't do it, okay? So, we can't take away from the 2, so we need to cross the 2 out, okay? Cross the 2 out, then we need to borrow from the top, okay? One line through there. Okay, now we had here 2. We had 2 before. Do you remember? We had 2. Okay, if we've borrowed 110 from the tens column, because we've only drawn one line through the tens, we've borrowed 110 and we're adding it to 2 ones. That is the same as doing 10 add 2, which we can all do 12, okay? Leaves you with 12. So 10 add 2, the 10 from this column added to the 2 that we already have gives us 12, okay? So this would become 12, okay? 12. Now, with this question here, the this number here, we've crossed it out and we've taken 1 away from it. If we've taken 1 away from 5, we are left with 4, okay? 4. Now we can answer this question. Pause the video here, have a go at answering this question on your piece of paper, in your book, wherever you can answer it, have a go, and then when you restart the video, I'll be talking again and I'll explain what we did, okay? So pause the video now. Okay, if you pause the video and you've answered this question, you should have ended up with something like this, okay? So in this question now, we've got 12 take away 5. 12 take away 5. Now, if you're not sure about this, and sometimes taking away can be really, really difficult, the easiest thing to do is start from 5 and count up to 12, because then you work out how many you've got in between. So you start at 5 and you go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which leaves you with 7, okay? 7 numbers in between 12 and 5. If you did 12, take away 5, you would get 7, okay? 7, 12, take away 5. And however you've worked that out, as long as you've got 7, that's fantastic, okay? 4, take away 2 is 2, and 3, take away 1 is 2, okay? That's how you get the answer to that question. Now, we did lots of questions like this, and some of us found it a bit tricky. I found it tricky. It's a hard thing to do, okay? But we all managed to get those questions right in the end, okay? So we've done lots of practice, and I just wanted to make sure we hadn't forgot these before we move on to the next thing, especially because we're learning at home, okay? So have a go at another one of these questions on your piece of paper now. Okay, so if we had this question, we're looking at it, we're going to the right first, because we always start with the ones on the right. We're starting with the ones, my number at the bottom is bigger than my number at the top, so we need to do some borrowing, okay? We need to do some borrowing. So, remember in lessons when I spoke to you about the police, because we've talked a lot about how only the ones are allowed in the ones party, okay? You're only allowed in the ones party, only the tens are allowed in the tens party, and only the hundreds are allowed in the hundreds party. So, if we had this, we know that we've got to borrow from the tens, which is going to mean the tens go to the ones party. But we've got to do it because we can't take 5 away from 3, okay? So if we cross out the tens, because we're borrowing from the tens, okay? And we can't have 3 anymore because we haven't got 3 anymore. We've added a 10, okay? So if we've added 1 10 to 3, we're going to have 13, okay, because we've taken 1 10 from the tens column and we've added it to 3 ones, which means we have 13, okay? If we've got 13, we need to cross out our 3 and change it to 13, okay? Now I know what you're going to say. The police have showed up and there's tens in the ones party. There is tens in the ones party, and that's not okay. But it's okay because if they turn up at the door, you can say, officer, it's okay, because we are subtracting. We are subtracting, which means we are taking away, which means there won't be tens in the ones party. So they'll get on their radio and they'll say, yeah, this is a PC maths to headquarters. It's okay, we have got to the ones party, there are tens there, but they are subtracting, they are taking away, so there is no issue here, there will not be any tens in the ones party. And then you are all good, okay? So, if we've got this question and we've taken away from our tens, we've borrowed to make this 13, we can now do 13 take away 5, but we mustn't forget to change this number, okay? Just because we've crossed it out doesn't mean it's not there anymore, because we have only taken 1 10 away, and we have made 5. Because we started with 6, we've taken 1 away, which means we've got 5, okay? So now have a go answering this question on your paper, pause the video, and when you press play again, I'll carry on talking to you. So have a go at that now. Okay, so if you've done that question, you should have found 13 take away 5, which again, you can do exactly the same way as I said before. Count up from 5 to 13 and you'll find what you're missing. So if you start with 5 and you go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, you will have 8, okay? 8. And if you did 13 take away 5, you would get 8, okay? 8. 5 take away 2, 3, and 3 take away 1, 2. Fabulous. So always remembering those rules because that will help you. Ooh, drop your pen. Dear. Those rules will help you, okay? I'll stop for this video and I'm going to upload another video that explains how we rename and borrow if we're borrowing from the hundreds column, okay? So have a watch of that one, practice these questions that I've just shown you on your piece of paper, and then we'll try for the next harder step, okay? Best of luck.